there's always a level of progressiveness and wokeness in ESPN. And so I think because of this monolithic battleship, they're not ever going to be able to turn quick enough. And eventually you're going to see them lose in relevancy, very similar to the way you see MSNBC, CNN, and Fox. They've lost a significant relevancy. I don't know if you guys saw, PBD beat all of them. Patrick Bet-David's podcast beat everyone streaming on YouTube.
So this has been on my mind for a while. And you know this maybe better than anyone in terms of social media, how to use it, the direction it's headed. One of the things that has kind of bothered me in the last little bit is that I'm not sure the media cycle, sports media, we'll focus on sports media in this case. I'm not sure it rewards the right people.
Sure.
So what I mean by that is like ESPN recently laid off, in my opinion, the greatest basketball analyst I've ever seen, which is Zach Lowe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the guy is a genius. The way he breaks down the game, talks about it tactically, storytells, like his podcast is amazing. And of course, the big talking heads like Skip Bayless are just rewarded for streaming into the microphone.
Yeah.
And I guess where I'm going with is
like
this.
You and I know more about basketball than Skip Bayless. Like that's the problem. That's like Skip
given,
Bayless does no homework at all.
Right.
He just like the thing is, I don't think Skip Bayless is a racist person, but I do think he plays on race in order to try to rile up people to hate him so much. And he says ridiculous things. Like I've never seen someone be that famous who's that disingenuous. Oh, I'm sorry. Other than the Harris campaign, I've never seen someone be that disingenuous who's that famous, where they're just literally saying things that they don't even mean.
Right.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know. To be honest, like I can't really complain too much because I get a lot of clicks too if I say something that's a little bit. Ty Lopez put this really well, I think, recently on Instagram, where he said the most viral things are the things that 50% of the population will disagree with and 50% will argue with, which is 100% true.
Dan Kennedy has a great book about this, about closing from stage. I do this too. He makes the most money when he leaves the stage and half the audience hates him.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I do the same. I figured out a way to make everyone hate me. I figured out a way to do
Well, so the interesting thing about you is that, so like I will look at the clips you post on social media and I understand why you post them, but because I know you, I'm like, no, man, the most interesting shit about Michael is the books he reads, the business mind that he has. All this stuff I'm sure gets you a lot of new customers and clients, but I'm like, I personally don't like it because I'm like, I know behind the scenes that you're like this genius, right? And so I've learned a lot from you.
Yeah.
Whereas like I guess my point is this. Where is all of this headed? Should we be worried about it? Should we be worried about attention spans or analysis or in-depth conversations?
If Zach Lowe hired me to be his consultant, he would make more money than he would ever have made with ESPN.
Right.
Zach Lowe would have a Substack. Zach Lowe would have his own podcast that would be very inexpensive for him to produce.
Yeah.
It would go up on. He already has name recognition. He would still be able to do collaborations with Brian Windhorst. They already do collaborations right now. Zach Lowe would be a guest on other people's podcasts. My good friend Jim Jackson just started his podcast. I recommend all of you guys watch it. It's a really good podcast. Zach Lowe would still have the ability to make money. So the thing is, we're looking at it the wrong way. We're looking at like ESPN is holding on to the rope as hard as they can,
right?
And they're putting all their money in one basket. We know whether Skip Bayless or whoever it is. You saw Stephen A. Smith, by the way. He's on Fox News. I don't know if you guys saw that. He just started doing that.
Yeah.
What's happened is legacy media is holding on to the rope as hard as they can, and they're trying to make something work. The best thing that ever happened to Zach Lowe was getting fired from ESPN.
You think so?
Yeah, because he knows what he's doing. And also, now here's the other thing. I can criticize certain people, and like if you think about, like, I love listening. If Tom Brady had a podcast, he would be able to say things he can't say working for CBS.
Yes, that's true.
There's certain things he can't do that he would be able to. Is he on CBS? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe is he on Fox? No, I think he's on Fox. He's the A team on Fox. Yeah, that's right. And so there's certain things he can't get away with. Same thing with ESPN. There's certain topics that they can't go into. They can't get political, stuff like that you can do on your own. Zach Lowe is going to be able to be more of himself. I'm sure probably at this point he may feel a little bit of uncertainty, but I guarantee you the moment people found out he got fired, Barstool sent him an offer. He probably got an offer from a bunch of different places. And if he went just totally on his own, he could make money from Patreon. He could make money from subscription services on Spotify. He could do a subscription service on YouTube. There's so many ways he can make money. And probably he'd 10x his income. What's happened is ESPN is a monolith and is a battleship, and they can't turn fast enough to keep up with the times. So they're going to start selling off their pieces piecemeal, and the individual people, like Brian Windhorst is a great example. Like, he doesn't need anyone to like help him with his show. I still listen to his show all the time.
Right.
And Pro Football Focus is another great example. Pro Football Focus is closer to the truth when it comes to professional NFL football than anyone else I've listened to. And it's not super exciting. It's just they get it right more than anyone else. I don't think it's something that I'd have to worry about. I was thought about it too. I was like, man, Barstool Sports, that'd be incredible. It's like, I'm friends with Patrick Bet-David. I was like, why don't the Valuetainment should hire me? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I'm actually way better off doing it like this. You get money from ads on YouTube. You can run meta ads back to your show. Like, there's all these different ways you can do it. It's confusing and scary in the beginning. But again, I would introduce Zach Lowe to, like, I don't know, Shar Modell, who's my content manager, or Cole Gordon, or numerous other guys, and they would literally turn his business around. He'd work fewer hours and make more money like that. So we don't have to feel sorry for these guys, right? Because Zach Lowe's talented. He doesn't have to worry about it. If I'm trying to think of another guy who just really does his homework. Mel Kiper for the NFL, who does the draft for the NFL. Mel Kiper he does have his own podcast that has no affiliation to any channel. He's going to crush because the work is there. There's one podcast I listen to about the NFL cap, super boring. People would fall asleep. I love listening to this cap. I love the NFL salary cap and the NBA salary cap are so fascinating to me, and I can't explain why. I love them. And when I listen to his show, it's like so fascinating the way he does those things. If you have a good enough talent, you'll rise to the top. It'll take a while. Now
you have to know what to do, basically. And that I actually am kind of worried for Zach, because he's a bit of a dinosaur in that sense. Like, I hope he has the right guidance to actually do, like Mark Stein does a great. He's a Dallas guy. Yeah. He has his own Substack. He has.
So Mark Stein has a Substack, and Mark Stein goes on Sports Radio 13, the Ticket. They'll interview him. My favorite, I cut my teeth at Sports Radio 1310 The Ticket in Dallas, Texas. Back in 94, 95, I worked there. And when I was there, it was the craziest thing. There's no sports radio station in America that has a larger market share of its community than Sports Radio 1310. They've won multiple Marconis, which is like the best sports radio station in the United States. And it's nothing but jokes and wacky shit. And they talk about, all kind, like where they take dumps and what they do as a dad and whether or not this girl is hot. It's not quite to the level of Barstool Sports level of immaturity, but it's kind of on the same page. And that kind of content is able to pivot. You're able to do that. ESPN can never pivot. ESPN can never take any political stand. ESPN is owned by Disney. And ESPN is always going to have a sprinkle of wokeness. ESPN is I'm going to be waiting for the next NFL highlight, and I'm going to watch the New York Liberty playing the Minnesota Lynx, and I'm like, I don't really want to see this highlight right now. But I have to. It's like, okay, women's tennis. Like, can you put that on another channel? Because I want to watch NBA basketball. I'm sorry, I'm closed-minded, but like that's what I want to watch.
No, I get it. Yeah.
And so, listen, if the woman dunks on the man, show me that. I want to see that clip for sure.
Yeah.
But there's always a level of progressiveness and wokeness in ESPN. And so I think because of this monolithic battleship, they're not ever going to be able to turn quick enough. And eventually you're going to see them lose in relevancy, very similar to the way you see MSNBC, CNN, and Fox. They've lost a significant relevancy. I don't know if you guys saw, PBD beat all of them. Patrick Bet-David's podcast beat everyone streaming on YouTube. So
whereas if PBD had a job at argument's sake for ESPN, he wouldn't be PBD anymore.
He couldn't say PBD could not say 80% of the things he says if he was on ESPN. That would be a significant
I think that's
issue.
the biggest case for like it being a good thing for Zach Lowe being let go, for example. Like I've had people ask me like, your dream must be to work for Real Madrid. And I'm like, fuck no. I've seen people who work for Real Madrid, their contracts, it literally says in their contract the word exaggerated bias. You can never criticize. You must be unbelievably biased.
So let me ask you, did you see Jerry Jones cussing out those reporters?
No.
Okay, so Jerry Jones goes on. He has a station. He does 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. I know I live in Las Vegas. I'm obsessed with Dallas media. Dallas sports. They are the ones who carry the Cowboy games, and he has the three guys who host the show, and they're asking him questions, legitimate questions. For those of you who don't know, Jerry Jones. If you look up Dunning-Kruger effect in the dictionary, it's just a picture of Jerry Jones, a guy who made a lot of money and thinks he knows how to run a football team. He is totally clueless when it comes to running a football team. And he has screwed up so many things with the Dallas Cowboys. They have not made it to the conference finals in 30 years, and he is the first, second, and third reason why that is the case. Let me be unequivocal about that. Just in unbelievable levels.
And he's still there, right?
He's 82 years old, and he's still running the team.
Crazy.
He's a couple months older, I think, than Joe Biden. So, like, the thing is, or younger, I can't remember, but they're about the same age.
Right.
The thing about it is that Jerry was on there and they asked him legitimate questions. You didn't sign a second defensive tackle. You didn't sign a second wide receiver. And there's nothing on this team resembling a running back. Jerry, could you done something a little bit different, like signing Dak Prescott to the largest deal in NFL history at the beginning of free agency instead of the end? And he goes, listen, I'm not on here. I'll get somebody else to ask me these questions. He said, I will get someone else on here to ask me these questions. Because those guys work for the team. And Jerry threatened their job. And then when another reporter asked him about it the same day, he doubled down on what he said. So I totally understand. Like there's this lack of, you should look up the video. It was it made headlines all over the place.